put them together and say, hey, we know we're doing our single issue advocacy thing. We know we're doing that one step forward. But we can all acknowledge that collectively we're making these 12 steps back. We're committed to taking 12 steps forward right now. We're committed to that because we're going to fall off the edge of the ecology of our planet if we don't do an intervention quickly. So, if you agree with these 12 things that all of us have collectively decided we think we absolutely need, we've come to consensus that these are the critical issues that we would have easily passed if we got the level playing field of an amendment. But we didn't get the level playing field amendment, and we couldn't wait any longer to make these policy changes happen. Now for us, and for sisters and brothers all over the world, like the 2/3 of the world's population who are poor and live on coastal cities that will be underwater, then if you agree with this platform, click here, let us know, blah, blah, blah. We start the we do the next conversation, and it takes them to our vote.org platform where, you can be involved as a block captain at the smallest level, as a block captain, to organize this society block by block with the clarity and consistency of a sober democracy over which we have control. And the reason it hasn't happened yet, the only reason it hasn't happened yet, is because those who are typically funded to be in control of this work, of some kind or another civic engagement, will tell you, if you're coming to them and saying, I'm in this abusive, terrible, horrible relationship, what do? They say, well, will this violent significant other of yours quit? Will this violent significant other of yours break up, end the relationship? And you say, no, they won't. They get too much support for their addiction for it. They're not gonna end the relationship. Oh, well, and this is their response. Well, if they're not going to end it, then it can't end. So I guess we just have to work with what we have. That's the approach, isn't it? They leave out the whole part where we're empowered to end the relationship if we have to. Where we can do that, right? So we have a few other programmatic things that we're doing that I'm very excited to share with all of you at some point, but we're out of time. What I want you to understand, to believe in, and feel is that you can affiliate your local work with this. You can be a voice in it. You can learn quickly how to build your organization because you have access to our webinars and our trainings, right? And our decades and decades of organizing experience combined, right? And we'll help in all these ways that we know have worked on. And we model after the civil rights movement organizing, right? We do the two ingredients to any successful social movement are what? Two main ingredients in the population: students and workers. And the reason the civil rights movement succeeded, and the reason all these other movements succeed because they have students and then workers, is because, for example, in the civil rights movement, when the students at SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, went to Ralph Abernathy and Martin Luther King Jr. and the others and said, hey, we're about to graduate into a segregated society, but Brown versus the Board of Education has already passed. How come the Civil Rights Movement, how come the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, how come you people who are supposed to be the adults and the leaders haven't found a way to create integration in our society? Why are we graduating into a society that's not worth inheriting? And they would say, well, look at our congregations. Look at the communities. You think we don't want that? They're terrified, though. They're terrified of the terrorism with the burning cross in their front yards and the lynchings on their trees. They're terrified because they're up to here right now in the sewage, and they're afraid if they stop working or stop consuming the way you're talking about with boycotts and sit-ins, that they'll go under. They're terrified of that. And then what did the SNCC say? What did the young people say? They said, well, look, we don't have a choice because this is our future we're talking about. And if we're going to have a society worth inheriting, we need to at least fight for that ourselves. So we're walking out on this system. And we are not going back to it until we have a society and world worth inheriting. That's all the leadership of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference needed, to go back to their conversations and say, if you want to let them take away your dignity, if you want to let them take away your property, if you want to let them tell you that you're anything less than 5/5 of a human being, if you want to let them take away your equality, your future, your home, your freedom, fine. But why did you go through it all? Why did you go through all of this pain? If not for the hope that the next generation would have a fighting chance. And look at them. They're walking out. They're walking out on this system. They've had enough. And they're asking us if we're going to support them. If we're going to do everything we can, despite our fears, to guarantee that they have a planet and a society worth inheriting. And here we are again. We have a generation that can beg of the promise of their parents' generation, just for the chance to do what we've done as a species our entire existence. Continue and continue to continue. And if you and your community think that you have another option, don't participate in national intervention. But we believe we don't have another option. So what I want to do, though, is a time check real quick.
11:20.
Okay.
I have a question. You mentioned, is this supported by any party affiliation? Like you mentioned, Move On.
You could have stopped it. Is this supported?
Yeah.
But I mean, you mentioned Move On.
No, the answer is no. There's no. I get all the money that comes in through the website, except for invitations to speak and give workshops for whatever we can pass the hat for, or if there's an honorarium available. We don't have to read Bill's email.
Neither political party.
Now, with boycotting stuff, there is a book out there called a shopping guide to equality or something like that. I can find out. I have it in my car, actually. It goes through and it grades almost every corporation that you can think of, even a lot of the little mom and pop ones, and it gives them an A+ to an F compared on their social equality, their pay equality, their environmental efforts. It goes through, and it does a really good job. They do a new edition every 2 years even.
I have one thing I wanted to add. Of course, you talk about intervention. And people have mentioned that we are as guilty as all those oppressed forces because we are adding to this.
Well, I'm not saying as guilty, and I'm not talking about guilt at all. We're just talking
No,
about
I'm
we have a role
We
in the
have
system.
a role to it.
Yeah.
We are enabling system by becoming consumer, using, what they want us to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to, Scott, of course, is talking in a very, like a big way. But each one of us, we don't have to go through this big way. We can do it in small ways, like, for example, I do social forum, and I offer workshops, how to grow your own thing and why.
Self-sufficiency is a huge part of this.
How to compost. But eventually, you're going to move towards that.
That's exactly the idea, Roya and Becky, is that there's nothing about the reality that we need to do an intervention before it's too late that excludes what we're already doing. It's just the recognition that we need to be the strongest links in our own chains that we can possibly be.
So
otherwise, it's our fault that the chain was linked.
Yeah.
The chain link was weak.
In order to not buy in to these people, then we have to be more self-sufficient.
Yes.
Like
anything and everything. I mean, I travel the country, right? I talk to people who are doing their local food work, and they think that's it, that's the thing. I talk to people who are doing their immigrant rights work, and they think that's the thing, that's it. We talk to people here who are doing their foreclosure work, and they think that's the thing, that is it, right?
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything.
It's what you've intuitively, organically discovered is the thing that is it.
Your purpose.
Right?
Yeah, that's your thing.
So what we're capable of doing is strengthening all your tools. I think you may have gotten a sense of some of my experience and what I can add, right, and things like that. And we have just such amazing talent, right, that as long as we have people taking their stand and saying, yeah, I'm going to keep doing my foodie work. I'm going to keep doing my work on incarceration, a society full of incarceration, right? I'm going to keep doing that. Yeah, but count me in.
Yes.
Count us in. We are there.
Right.
We are allies.
Right.
So that when the time comes to count our numbers and see how close to the societies to whom we are trying to frantically to catch up to, right? We know where we are.
Mm-hmm.
We know what we really have when it comes to who's going to be in the room, sitting down with the addicts in power and saying, you have a problem over which you have no control.
Yeah,
your lives have become unmanageable, and here's what we think needs to happen.
Not
So hang on, before you go on anymore, I want to ask other people to step up and see if there are other things that people have to say or contribute or ask.
If we want to honor the decisions we made earlier in regards to open space, etc.
Yeah.
Then and some transition time.
Yeah.
I think we need to wrap. What I would say is it would be possible for people who want to continue a conversation to stay engaged in that.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I thought
we are
just
heading
that
up
Eric
to open
was
space.
Thinking 11:40, but maybe that's not true.
Well, maybe I'm mistaken.
11:40. Yeah.
I'm sorry. If I'm mistaken.
Well, come back and tell me.
I will tell you.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, other things. Yeah.
When you're talking about the products to buy, everybody should just be careful regarding how much of things you buy or even what you want. I mean, we don't need much to live.
Agreed.
We can carry everything we need to live on our backs.
I will say that unfortunately we could combine all of the, for example, the resources we use, all of the fossil fuels that we use as a society contributing, so much more than our share of the world's carbon load, for example. And if all of us as individuals were to just somehow go back to the land and have only solar, it's the industries that are carrying the vast majority of the bulk of the industry. It's commerce. It's the giant industrial waste that's contributing so much to consumption and to making such a negative impact on things like our environmental exigencies, our environmental urgencies. So those are all true, and I don't do those things. I don't I don't practice a sustainable and I don't only practice a sustainable and responsible lifestyle of low consumption. That's simple, right? Live simply so that others can simply live, right? I don't do that only because I think I'm making this tiny itty bitty thing. I don't think my difference, and collectively, statistically, our difference is very, very, that we make as individuals, very small. I do that for my own sanity, and I do that so that I'm not changed by the world in the ways that a world run by psychopathic addicts would have me be changed. Those are the reasons I do that. But I also know that the math we could all pull out of the resource consumption, for example, and we'd still have to somehow intervene to bend those who have the decision, make them the targets of how commerce and industry are truly going to rein things in when it comes to sustainability. So I know for myself that I'm not really making that difference, but I do it for my own sanity and for my own spiritual well-being so that I can be intact when it comes to my relationship to the rest of my world and community and universe. So I think there's a difference there, and it begs the question then, how quickly can we get started on the intervention? Because that's what we know will actually make the impact.
So we said that we wanted time to hear about everybody else's stories, right, or what their work they're doing, and then we were going to have open space. We've already kind of bled into that time, so what I'm asking is for people to come together. Let's honor the discussion.
Okay, so we're going up there. We're going to close out because this is going to be a personal time up here right now. We love you. We'll be back.